It is Friday, July 19th, 2019. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And it was a very fun and exhausting get your ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Friday. We did a lot of sweeps and more sweeps, mostly a pulling guard kind of sweep kind of thing, and I really liked it, honestly. I got to where I could do it smoothly enough during the reps. Whether or not I will ever be able to pull it on somebody, that's another thing to be seen. But I did actually do that. During our last 15 minutes, it was pretty much all just sparring. And so we did, like, I want to say it was three 5-minute rounds. Honestly, I would have liked more reps, but that's quite all right. I had an opportunity to test it out right off the bat. And so I did pull guard on my opponent, but I pulled it into the sweep that we were working. Unfortunately, he was really good at keeping his knee between me and him, and negated my just passing the guard and getting right on up on him. But nonetheless, I did get up on him. It just took a little more effort. But yeah, I was definitely being tested on that additional stripe today between those three rounds. Oh man, very tiring indeed. I went against a gentleman who's a lower rank than I am, but I get the impression that he's got a bit of experience with wrestling, because as exhausted from work as he may have been, the fact of the matter is he kept his guard really, really good. He kept his elbows and his knees between me and him really well. But I did manage to pass his guard and get him in a nice little Americana. Honestly, I don't think he felt that one coming on. It was kind of funny. Anyway. But yeah, I kind of kept it slow and easy today as far as my movements go. And it was funny because I had people that were working with me that were working very, very quickly, and it was definitely putting me to the test. And yeah, I was constantly on the defensive the entire time. And I don't mind being that way, because I know that that's like the best place for me to be. I mean, I really don't mind people going for my back. I don't, because it's a position that from there I tend to turn that into half guard, and I do it. You know, and when I say half guard, I mean me on top, half guard. And so, you know, like I said, I don't mind it as much, because it takes a few little adjustments and you can turn that into a really good sweep. And so, you know, it's one of those things where, yes, it's bad to give up your back, but at some points, it can be useful, you know, and you gotta know exactly when to do that and exactly how to do that. And one of the things I really like to do is like snuggle back towards their feet, you know, because at that point, if you can like grab the outside of one of their knees, you could just roll to the outside and get a nice sweep out of it. But yeah, like I said, I managed to get a couple good sweeps in today, although they're getting on to me. I gotta get a little sneakier, because they're getting on to my game, and I can't have that. I don't know. I've been thinking about a few other ways that I could have gotten that sweep today, and it's funny because, like, if I'm really trying really hard, this stuff doesn't occur to me. But when I relax and I'm just trying to take it easy and just casual and whatnot, it, like, my body just kind of falls into it. And I think that's the kind of jiu-jitsu that I need to cultivate more in myself, is that, you know, I'm really good at defending my neck. I'm really good at defending my arms. And, you know, it's like today when people were going for that arm bar, they were getting nothing but air. I mean, because by the time they were getting me towards the arm bar, they'd already lost the arm. And I've been thinking about a couple other ways to get out of that business as well. But that's one that, you know, I stack people up very hard with that one. The first guy that I rolled with today, he was going for the armbar, and I managed to get the back of his knee with my other arm, and I just pulled it in and rolled him over onto his face, basically, and came around and got the arm out, got him back over. And it was funny, I screwed up a little bit because I was trying to pull him up onto his side so I could go for an armbar myself. And he negated me. But I managed to flatten him back out, and that's where I managed to get that Americana on him. But yeah, I think that one, like I said, I think I kind of snuck in with that one on him, where he wasn't quite anticipating it. Anyway, as far as what we're going to get into today, I've got a few tabs open in the browser. I haven't been behind the computer as much today. I got to tell you, I really do not like the new layout for Twitter. They really need to go back to how it was before, because the new layout for Twitter sucks. And if they're trying to lose users, keep it up. That's exactly how you do it. And as far as our first dance goes, I've been opening it up with body count. I want to kind of deviate from that one just for the day at least. But I haven't exactly decided where to go with it. I mean, it's kind of an awesome responsibility, the first dance and all that. Here we go. A little bit of Iron Maiden for you. Aces High, first dance, here on Coin Metal. And that was Sixth with In This Light. And so as far as what we're going to get into tonight, this is something that has been kind of a constant with regard to cryptocurrencies and cryptocurrency trading. And I think this is part of the reason why cryptocurrencies even exist, is the possibility of simply ignoring pretty much everybody else on planet Earth except for you and the people that you want to do business with, or that want to do business with you. And so I think this is going to continue. And I was looking at this on Twitter, and somebody had said something about it being something like Napster. How they managed to crush Napster. Yeah, okay, they managed to get Napster, but did they stop people downloading stuff illegally? No. So, what was the point of taking down Napster? Absolutely nothing. I mean, if anything, they set back the whole process of data exchange and monetization of that model at least a decade, maybe? I mean, I think only now it's really starting to come through with streaming services and whatnot, even though on the stock market and in the way that their whole model works is kind of flawed, like with Netflix, where it's simply being a pirating stream, where one person will pay for the service, but like 20 people will be using the service, just using the same credentials and whatnot. It's funny, you would think that Netflix would actually catch on to that, but they don't really care, because they make enough money as is, between their own stuff and the ad space that provides, and the already made movies that they're offering on their platform. They make plenty of money. Anyway, so I got this article here. It's on decrypt.co. And so yeah, let's get into it. How traders flouted BitMEX's U.S. trading ban. BitMEX is reportedly being investigated for letting U.S. traders operate on its platform. Circumventing these weak restrictions is crypto's worst kept secret. And it's not a secret, it's a feature, not a bug. Anyway, continuing on, this is authored July 19th, 2019, and it was by Ben Munster, so yes, penis. Derivatives exchange BitMEX is under investigation for allowing U.S.-based traders to use its platform, according to Bloomberg. Bloomberg? Oh motherfucker. We're gonna go to Bloomberg. Fuck you, Ben. Jesus Christ. Oh, and I've got one free article remaining. Good. So this is on Bloomberg.com. U.S. regulator probing crypto exchange BitMEX over client trades. And this is by Benjamin Robertson and Gregor Stewart Hunter. So, double penis. And this is authored July 19th, 2019 at 1:26 a.m. PDT. The U.S. Commodities Future Trading Commission is investigating crypto exchange BitMEX, according to people familiar with the matter, a platform that's become wildly popular in Asia for letting people make big bets with little money down. The months-long CFTC probe is focused on whether BitMEX broke rules by allowing Americans to trade on the platform, which isn't registered with the agency, said one of the people who asked not to be named, discussing the investigation, which hasn't been made public. The regulator considers virtual currencies like Bitcoin to be commodities, and it has jurisdiction over futures and other derivatives based on them. The probe is ongoing, and the regulator's investigations often don't lead to allegations of misconduct. The CFTC declined to comment. HDR Global Trading Limited, owner of BitMEX, as a matter of company policy, does not comment on any media reports about inquiries or investigations by government agencies or regulators, and we have no comment on this report, a BitMEX spokesman said, or spokeswoman, my apologies, said. BitMEX Chief Executive Officer Arthur Hayes said in an interview in January that BitMEX removes anyone who flouted company rules, barring U.S. residents and nationals. However, it is possible clients mask their location by using virtual private networks to assign their computer an internet protocol address from a BitMEX permitted country. Tricking filters put in place, Hayes said. The hodgepodge of U.S. agencies claims some jurisdiction over digital currencies, and the CFTC's turf is largely limited to crypto derivatives and fraud and manipulation in the spot market. Still, the American swaps regulator has staked out a leading role overseeing virtual currencies and sued crypto firms for violating its derivatives regulations at home and abroad when U.S. clients are involved. Why? Fuck you, we're making money. In March, Marshall Islands-based firm OnePool Ltd. agreed to pay almost $1 million to settle CFTC charges that it broke rules when offering contracts that use Bitcoin as collateral. In that case, the CFTC alleged that the firm illegally offered retail commodity transactions that were margined in the virtual currency with U.S. customers and improperly acted as a broker for them by accepting Bitcoin as collateral. And yeah, whatever. While BitMEX is registered in the Seychelles, its main office is in Hong Kong, and it also has an office in San Francisco. Hayes, one of the firm's three co-founders, is a former Citigroup Inc. equities trader and a well-known presence in crypto conferences around the globe. Samuel Reed, another co-founder, has a background in programming. The third, Ben Dello, previously worked as a vice president at JP Morgan Chase & Co. in Hong Kong, according to his LinkedIn bio. At JP Morgan, Dello developed high-frequency trading systems. The CFTC's probe of BitMEX comes as authorities around the world step up scrutiny of a largely unregulated crypto market that's been beset by scams, accusation of price manipulation, and a collapse in value of many heavily traded tokens. President Donald Trump wrote on Twitter July 11th that, quote, "I am not a fan of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies which are not money and whose value is highly volatile and based on thin air." That's not actually true. It's based on computer processing, but continuing. Rules around cryptocurrency trading vary greatly by country, and BitMEX has posted a notice on its website that people who are citizens or residents of the U.S. or the Canadian province of Quebec are prohibited from using the platform under its terms of service. Some traders have taken to social media to complain about being booted from BitMEX on suspicion of being from the U.S. Founded in January 2014, BitMEX is regularly among the top exchanges by reported volume, according to data from CoinMarketCap.com. Its early selling point was a referral system which gave a portion of trading fees to clients who introduced new traders to the platform. BitMEX also offers contracts similar to futures that let investors make leveraged bets of up to 100 to 1 on the direction of various digital currencies, including Bitcoin and Ethereum. The firm has faced criticism, including from New York University economist Nouriel Roubini, and the broader industry has faced some potential setbacks. Earlier this month, the UK's Financial Conduct Authority proposed a ban on retail sales of crypto derivative products, warning consumers that digital tokens had no reliable basis for valuation. That's bullshit. That's complete and utter bullshit. Derivatives have no fucking real value. But cryptocurrencies do, and they do have a reliable basis for valuation. You know how often they're issued. You can verify when the last ones were issued. You can verify at any time how many are in circulation, how many are being held in wallets, how long it's been held in wallets, so on and so. You can find out all of that shit. However, you do not know any of that about derivatives, and if you are trading on a derivatives-based exchange, you're taking your own risks. I mean, and that's something that these people do not seem to understand. It was your investment and your risk to even get in crypto to begin with, whether it was getting in with fiat or getting in with crypto. If you got in with crypto, you either had to mine it or somebody gave it to you, or you had to buy it somewhere else, which is fine. You know, but it's a different type of property, a different type of quote-unquote commodity, and it's one that the CFTC technically does not really have any control over. Now, with regard to derivatives and derivative markets, yes, they do have a regulatory place there. However, I would argue that it is up to you to decide whether or not you want to be involved on a regulated exchange or not. But you've got to understand, and you have to take this to heart to begin with. If you go through the trouble of setting up a VPN to trade on BitMEX or another exchange that is, for one reason or another, outside of your ability to get to and set up an account in, you know, say you live in New York, that fucking digital gulag, right? And you want to trade on an exchange that maybe it's legal in the United States, but it's not registered by the NYDFS, and so you can't trade on it technically, but you set up a VPN and you do it anyway. You've assumed a level of risk there that is entirely and wholly accountable to you. You know, if they go down and your funds get sucked up, or they just never pay you your money or whatever, you have no recourse. It is between you and them. There is no state entity, there is no federal entity that is going to get you your money back. That's it. If you operate under that assumption, you will be just fine. Because the responsibility is yours and yours alone. You know, if you're on crypto Twitter or any other social media platforms that are talking about exchanges or the trading of cryptocurrencies or prices or any of that shit, it's up to you, man. You got to review the data that you're being presented and decide from that which is the best way to invest your money. But none of these federal entities can really tell you that. You know, I mean, but there again, there are tools for verification that have never been available to you before. You've never been able to go on the fucking blockchain and look up transactions to verify, the transaction activity of your bank or any of those. You've never been able to look at Visa's transaction record to see how many times they fail a transaction. But you can on the Bitcoin blockchain and whatever other blockchain is being utilized. So say they're not using Bitcoin, say they're using Ethereum. Yeah. Anyway, that's the big differential here. Okay, that if there's some sort of failure on BitMEX, well, we tend to notice it on things like the blockchain. There's plenty of people viewing it, and there's ample means for you personally to view it. And if you know what you're looking at, you can tell when things are fucking up. And you'll be like, yeah, it's a good idea to get the goddamn money off of there right now. We had plenty of warnings when like Cryptsy went down. There was no regulator even talking about it. As a matter of fact, I think they were taken down due to some sort of divorce thingy. Anyway, but the point being that we didn't need a regulator to tell us to get our money off of there. We had plenty of warning from one another saying, hey, I'm having some issues withdrawing Bitcoin, but I'm having absolutely no trouble getting Doge out of there. So you might want to liquidate everything, buy Doge, and get the fuck out of there. And that's exactly what I did. Except I used Verge, and it worked just fine. Their Verge reserves at the time were solid, and I was able to abscond with my money. Some people weren't so lucky, and as a matter of fact, I did lose some money on that. But not quite as much as I would have if I just ignored everybody. Or if I would have relied on, waiting for the SEC to come down on them, or the CFTC, or the NYDFS, or whatever. These people's interests aren't mine. Anyway, continuing on. We did Nuriel. Let's see, here we go. People love to speculate. We're trying to give them an opportunity to do it in a safe manner, Hayes said at a conference in Taipei earlier in July. At the end of the day, we're all in the entertainment business of traders. Yeah, well, you know what? We assume our own level of risk, dude. You might be more risk averse than the average cryptocurrency trader, but that's them and that's you. I think that's the place where regulators kind of overstep their bound. It's like, really, they need to be taking a step back and saying, okay, look, if you're not going to register with us, you have your customers have no liability against you except for in terms of like criminal or fraudulent behavior. So if you're actively denying people their money, when they're trying to withdraw, we might come after you for that. But that's only because you're injuring our citizens directly. But that would be like a not a preemptive action, a reaction, and that's really all you can expect. That's really all you can hope for. All of these regulatory actions that we do see, they're often years after the activity actually started. It took years for people to actually notice, and then there was years worth of investigation. And in the meantime, millions of people are being hurt. There's plenty of manipulation going on, cook and hookers, boats and hoes, all that business, all happening on the investor's dime. And there's the differential between stimulus and reaction. That's even in regulated markets. So for those that are talking about, we need more regulatory clarity in Bitcoin and crypto, yeah, fuck off. You assume the risk when you come in the door. And there are plenty of warning signs. It's not like this is a completely new market and it's completely bullshit. Do some investigation. If you're going to invest in this, learn what's going on. Learn what you're investing in. And this is a type of currency and a type of medium that you have never had access to before. And there are plenty of implications and plenty of differences between it and fiat currencies that make trading it a lot more powerful than trading fiat currencies. But one of the big problems with it, according to some, there are people like me that would say it's a virtue. But the problem is, of course, that there is no federal regulation of it. And there really can't be. That's the problem here, is that people want to assume that there can be, or treat it like there can be. And there really can't. If I've got a Litecoin wallet, I can send Litecoin to anybody else who has a Litecoin wallet. And when I say anybody, I mean anybody. I don't give a fuck if they're in North Korea or Bangladesh or Zimbabwe. Anybody. And I can settle that transaction within 2 minutes. Globally. Everybody in the world knows that transaction happened. Now, they won't necessarily know what the transaction happened for, or at what rate that me and the other person or other entity had agreed to. I don't know, they might be able to verify that on Litecoin. But anyway, point being that with that kind of ability, I think the idea of, we're going to corral it around to where, you can only trade it the way we want, and no, that's all gone. I could be in a multi-user dimension or an old school mud. We could be using Litecoin as the coin in the game and be exchanging the money in real time. And no one would be the wiser. They would just see transactions on the Litecoin network, or the Monero network, or the Verge network. They would just see the transactions being included in a block, and the block being included in the blockchain, and that's it. What they wouldn't see is, I'm buying a design for a spaceship in a video game that will allow me to make the spaceship multiple times. But I only have to buy the design one time, that kind of thing. The point being is those kind of things are available to us now. I mean, you could take World of Warcraft. If I can type a message directly to you, like a DM, you can type out a public address for a Litecoin wallet or a Verge wallet, and I can send you money directly into the game. Or directly over the network, but, directly to your address. And it goes straight to your wallet. So maybe you can hand me off some really cool armor, and I can pay you in Verge. I don't need a third-party service to provide that for me. I don't even need Steam to provide it for me. I don't need World of Warcraft to provide it for me. The network is already there. The currency is already there. It's global. One of these days, people are going to come to grips with this. They're going to realize exactly everything I'm saying about cryptocurrencies and understand what the difference that makes in peer-to-peer commerce. I mean, when all I need is a physical address to send a product to, and you need a public address for me to send the funds to, there's no limitation to what kind of commerce we can do, except for maybe the delivery service to get from A to B, and how we pay them, and how that affects the transaction. Those kind of things haven't been worked out yet, but when Federal Express or the U.S. Postal Service is willing to accept cryptocurrencies directly, and beyond just Bitcoin, that whole loop will have been completed, and you'll just be able to factor that into the transaction when it happens. You could be doing the transaction or completing the transaction right there at the post office when you're sending the product. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music. And I've been wanting to play a little bit of textures. And so here it is. Oceans Collide. Here on Coin Metal. And that was Metallica with Leper Messiah. It's one of those songs that hardly ever gets played on radio. Out of all the Metallica songs, you hardly ever hear Leper Messiah. So I figured it was time, right? Anyways, so for all the lack of regulation there is in cryptocurrencies, of course there are dangers. It's not there's no regulations because there's no danger. It's that no matter how much regulation there is, they really can't protect you from the danger, and getting your money back is pretty much impossible. I will say this about crypto, and it's something to take and keep in mind, that most organizations that go down, they do attempt or make every attempt possible to make their clients whole. Especially if it's, they're simply not able to operate within a certain jurisdiction because of a regulatory change that really probably shouldn't have happened anyway. Big whoop, it happens, but they give you your money back. I had this happen with 2 or 3 exchanges. As a matter of fact, my account with Bitfinex, I had to close that. I traded on there for probably 2 or 3 years before about 2 years, I would say, before they went and they changed the regulations and made it so that I couldn't trade with Bitfinex without doing a little hackery. And honestly, I think that's bullshit. Because all you're really doing is inhibiting my ability to make money. If I don't make money, then I don't spend money. If I don't make money, you can't tax me on it. See how that works? So, cutting me off from the ability to make money cuts down on your ability to generate revenue from me. You see what I'm saying here? So, step the fuck off my dick. Quit barring cryptocurrency exchanges from operating in the United States. As a matter of fact, do a significant rollback of your current quote-unquote regulations. All this fucking AML, KYC bullshit. The fact of the matter is that there's hardly any fucking quote-unquote criminal activity going on in crypto by comparison to the legitimate activity that's going on in it. And I'm sorry to say this, but fiat currencies cannot say the same. For all the bloviating about, lack of regulatory clarity, taxability and all this other bullshit, from what I can see, there isn't some vast criminal enterprise going on in crypto. There are people that use crypto for criminal activities, but the number of them are relatively few by comparison to the number of people that are trying to get the money legitimately. There's different levels of scammery, there's different levels of quote-unquote fraud, but I'm not talking about things like shilling coins and doing P&D groups or misdirecting your investors in your investment group or whatever. That's up to you, man. That's what you're doing with your conscience. But I mean actual fraudulent activities, actual criminal activities where people are, buying significant sums of drugs or selling them for cryptocurrencies. I'm not seeing it. I know that such markets exist, and I know people utilize them. However, they are not the vast majority of people using cryptocurrencies. And I think that it's really sad that such a concentration should be put on that. What you really have to consider with people talking about it in that context is if you can get away with laundering money, or if you can get away with conducting commerce for things like drugs and you can get away with it with cryptocurrencies, what else can you do with it? I mean, could you like do some legitimate commerce with it, where you go on a market and somebody offers you something, and you can offer them cryptocurrency for payment, and they could say yes, and you can agree on an exchange rate for it? I mean, gosh, you think that might be possible? Holy crap! Sorry, getting a little facetious there, but it's the point that big whoop-de-doo. There's plenty of criminal activity that can be going on there, but isn't. The vast majority of criminal activity is being facilitated with U.S. dollars and other fiat currencies, and this is just a fact. Anyway, continuing on. Some of the danger in here. And this is on the Bitcoinist.com. Former Cryptopia developer says hack was, quote, inside job. And this is by Eustace Cryptus. I don't know. Let's check and verify something here. No? Damn it. Only going to give us what Eustace has actually authored, and not the gender of Eustace. But I'm going to go by the picture, and I'm going to say yes, penis. And this is authored July 19th, 2019 at 1400 hours. No indication of time zone. VC Dragon, a former developer and co-founder of Cryptopia Exchange, has released new evidence detailing exactly how Intranel internationally or intentionally destroyed the exchange. Former Cryptopia developer spills the beans. On July 18th, Not So Fast, a Twitter user, and Not So Fast actually he countered these claims on the top. Anyway, continuing. It says, Not So Fast, a Twitter user claiming to be a former developer at Cryptopia. He did not. He actually countermounted that. A link to an article which he claims provides, quote, the complete story of the fraudulent hostile takeover of Cryptopia NZ by Intranel from its founders, Adam and Rob. According to Not So Fast, Intranel inside job hacked Cryptopia. I had to cryptically dance around talking about this for months, but here finally is the complete story of the fraudulent hostile takeover of Cryptopia NZ by Intranel from its founders Adam and Rob. It is alleged Intranel inside job hacked Cryptopia. According to VC Dragon, the author of the Steemit post, he and Cryptopia co-founder Adam began building Cryptopia as a hobby project around January 2014. As the project took form, Adam eventually resigned from his developer position at Intranel. VC Dragon explained that Intranel did not want to lose Adam as an employee and offered the duo a room to rent in their company office. Intranel's interest continued to grow as the crypto market and exchange took off. At the start of 2017, Adam and VC Dragon felt they could benefit from the business development support Intranel could provide. VC Dragon explained that, quote, Intranel made us an offer that for 20% of the company, they would handle all of the business management and develop things like helping with hiring and managing staff, paying tax, lobbying for regulator guidance, and all the, quote, boring business stuff. The firm also offered to contract four of their staff to the developers at a discounted rate and also provide assistance with finding top talent for Cryptopia. It was at this point that the story takes a turn for the worse. According to the lengthy and detailed post, Intranel hired staff for themselves and contracted these newly acquired employees to the Cryptopia founders at exorbitant rates. New staff were given unwarranted marginal latitude and managerial latitude, my apologies. And once Cryptopia was reliant on new staff, Intranel demanded an extra 5% equity in the exchange. Intranel bled Cryptopia dry. Eventually, Adam resigned from the pressure, and VC Dragon followed Intranel's advice to take a holiday in order to avoid burnout. VC Dragon claims he was not paid during his 1-month holiday and found that his workspace had been filled upon returning to Intranel. VC Dragon also said Intranel issued a dividend to everyone except Adam and himself, and explained that Intranel, quote, forced the extra 5% as they needed the extra shares to block any major transaction the company tried to undertake, so that we could not achieve a 75% threshold. The former developer alleges that Intranel bled Cryptopia dry, while also methodically absorbing the company into its ownership. Intranel supposedly issued themselves a loan for $300,000 to cover, quote, startup costs, and they repeatedly took on clients using Cryptopia's name, then billed the company for the work. Quote, they bled money everywhere they could. We paid for tax on their staff's flu shots. We paid taxes on Christmas fits to their staff, and our company bought the gifts. Everything they were unable to take for themselves, they pissed into the wind on needless expenses and luxuries to the company could not afford. That ultimately buried us. Apparently, Intranel attempted to sell the company right out from underneath the co-founders on 3 separate occasions. By the time Intranel was forcibly separated from Cryptopia, the company was nearly bankrupt. The saga continues. VC Dragon ends his article by concluding that he believes that... Oh, damn it. Something I need to disable a fucking... Yes, it was the wrong group. Oh, shit. Yeah, I guess I was in the wrong group for Verge. Anyway, VC ends his article by concluding that he believes that the hack was intentionally deployed to cover up all of the idiotic business practices. Their plan to completely absorb and wreck Cryptopia was interrupted after they were, quote, forcibly removed from the company. VC Dragon fears that the saga is not yet complete, as Intranel are currently partnered with ANZ, a bank that previously refused to provide Cryptopia with banking services, and PwC, a firm which is tasked with providing legal counsel to Cryptopia. Do you believe VC Dragon's side of the tale? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Yeah, well... I don't know. I don't know how to view any of this. I don't really know any of the people involved in it, so... But I mean, this is the type of shenanigans that we've always seen in cryptocurrencies. However, I will say that it does seem systemic in that the types of takedowns that happen, they're all very, very similar. Enough to make me believe that it's an actual entity that does it. You know, that they get hired on as employees and then they take the fucking thing down from the inside. You know, it just seems like a possibility to me. It's like there's these companies that they start off, they're wonderful, and then for some reason they get into a hack, or they have some sort of regulatory issue or some taxation issue that, you know, for whatever reason it didn't impact them last year, but all of a sudden this year it does. Or you have these issues with, you know, embezzlement on a wide scale that eventually takes the company down. And so, like I said, it feels like it's just like it's an entity that does it, you know, whether it's like a company or something like that they basically take out companies from the inside. Anyway, continuing on, I got this article here on Cointelegraph, and this one's kind of interesting because I don't really like Tether, and I don't really like stablecoins. I think they're bullshit. And so here it is. This is by Simon Chandler. It's authored approximately 11 hours ago, so yes, penis. Tether's trouble with New York Attorney General. Will crypto cope? Absolutely, it'll probably benefit vastly. Are Bitfinex and Tether in trouble? Maybe, but the thing is, we don't know just how much trouble, because the stablecoin issuer has challenged the New York State Office of the Attorney General's case against them. In claims filed in April, the Attorney General Letitia James asserted that Bitfinex defrauded its customers, having lost $850 million in client and corporate funds, and then having attempted to cover up this loss by secretly helping itself to around $900 million of Tether's cash reserves. Serious charges, but they're denied by Bitfinex and Tether's parent company, iFinex, which responded in April that the OAG's claims were, quote, riddled with false assertions, and that the lost $850 million is being safeguarded, although it didn't specify whether this amount is being held by Crypto Capital Corp., which initially received it, or by some other entity. Regardless, iFinex has applied to have the case dismissed, arguing that the OAG has no legal basis to sue it, for the simple reason that Bitfinex wasn't operating in New York during the period at issue. However, while a New York judge has questioned the Attorney General's vague and open-ended claims and asked for a more precisely constructed revision, recent news surrounding the closing of a New York-based bank account indicates that Tether and Bitfinex may very well have been operating in the state of New York. This would suggest that the OAG's claims are legally valid, and that Bitfinex and Tether may end up facing serious repercussions. Even if it does, certain crypto-related legal experts suggest that this wouldn't necessarily be such a big blow to crypto, which will endure with or without the liquidity provided by the Tether stablecoin USDT. Damn Skippy, it will. The New York connection. On July 10th, it was reported that the crypto-friendly Metropolitan Commercial Bank had closed accounts associated with iFinex. The company and its affiliates had held these accounts for around 5 months, after which they were closed, with iFinex itself stating that they were discontinued largely because of inactivity. According to iFinex, quote, Metropolitan Commercial Bank had limited corporate operating accounts with Tether Holdings Ltd., iFinex Inc., and Digfinex Inc., all with negligible activity, and requested the accounts to be closed after less than 5 months of the accounts being opened. As Cointelegraph has reported previously, iFinex denies that Bitfinex and Tether were operating in New York, and it's partly on the basis that the company believes the OAG's case should be thrown out. For its part, the OAG claimed in an affirmation filed in July that iFinex opened the accounts in December of 2017 and, quote, transacted in those accounts thereafter. Similarly, it also notes that it held accounts with another New York-based bank, Signature Bank, and, quote, transacted in those accounts until at least April 2018. During that time period, transactions were initiated in those accounts by a senior executive of respondents located in New York. But even if iFinex held accounts with New York-based banks, there's still no guarantee that the OAG can legally establish that Bitfinex and or Tether were actually operating in New York and serving New York-based customers. As crypto specialized lawyer Preston Byrne told Cointelegraph, the simple fact of having an account with a New York-based bank isn't likely to be enough on its own to legally establish operations in the state. He added, quote, "The short answer is that it depends on what the company is doing and what jurisdictional hook the state uses to regulate the conduct. For any company, the outcome of this analysis will be very fact-dependent. To the extent there is any possible nexus with New York State, businesses really should confer with the New York Council for that advice." Other lawyers agreed that the simple possession of a New York-based account isn't enough on its own to prove anything. Avia Arica, a lawyer and the chief of blockchain at Avia Law, explained to Cointelegraph that during her time as a lawyer, she opened dozens of bank accounts for clients in numerous nations when responding to the question of whether Ifinex, having New York bank accounts, proved that it operated in the state. Erica said, "This experience taught me that having a bank account in country X doesn't necessarily mean the company is targeting or soliciting clients in that country. Therefore, my answer would be negative." Quote, "I don't see a mandatory connection between the two," she clarified, noting that conversely, it's also possible to target New York clients and have your bank account anywhere else in the United States. Erica also pointed out that Ifinex isn't the only crypto-related company to have set up with Metropolitan, and that it's likely many other clients of the bank don't operate in New York State, she said. Quote, "Metropolitan Bank has become very popular in crypto talk, and I'm pretty sure not all companies who have accounts there are working with clients in New York. Because of the relative scarcity of crypto-friendly banks, companies are not being as picky as to narrow down their options and approach only those within their target markets." The outcome. The above would suggest that the OAG may struggle in establishing that Bitfinex and or Tether operated in New York. Nonetheless, it needs to be underlined that the Attorney General is indeed making the claim that Bitfinex and Tether serve New York-based customers and didn't only have the bank accounts located in the state. For example, in its affirmation from early July, Assistant Attorney General Brian M. Whitehurst wrote that, quote, "Documents obtained by the OAG in the course of its investigation demonstrate that respondents did in fact allow customers located in New York to transact on the Bitfinex trading platform after January 30th, 2017, which is when Bitfinex announced that it was officially barring New Yorkers from the exchange." The affirmation then proceeds to cite various pieces of evidence that Bitfinex was serving New York-based customers. For example, Whitehurst refers to enclosed evidence, not publicly available, of correspondence between Bitfinex and a digital currency trading firm located in New York, which used Bitfinex to trade on behalf of numerous, quote, "offshore vehicles," and which, quote, "conducted significant activity on the Bitfinex trading platform through at least early 2019. Likewise, the OAG also cites evidence that Bitfinex set up an account for Galaxy Digital and associated entities, as well as evidence testifying to the use of Bitfinex by New York-based traders as late as 2019. Given that these aren't the only pieces of evidence the OAG claims to possess, it would seem that Ifinex may not be successful in having the case thrown out. That said, there still isn't certainty that the Attorney General will succeed in providing a link with New York because, as Avia Arica indicates, factors complicate the issue. Quote, another interesting issue here would be the non-solicitation issue. She said, what the court's approach will be if Tether had allowed New York residents to transact but had not solicited or targeted them and had created the relationship with them completely passively. A case for that would be if some New Yorker were trading, say, Bitcoin for Tether. That would be something completely passive. Also proving an operational link with New York is one thing, but proving the defrauding of customers, which the Attorney General is ultimately attempting to substantiate, is another. And it's precisely here that the biggest uncertainty resides, with Byrne affirming that because of the infancy of the legal battle, it would be unwise to stick your neck out with a decisive prediction either way. Byrne clarified, quote, it's impossible to know at this phase. I would imagine both sides of this litigation are keeping their cards close to their vest. Still, even with this uncertainty, it's unlikely that the New York Attorney General would have sued iFinex if it didn't believe it had a strong case, as suggested by Aaron Kaplan, a former lawyer who is now the CEO of New York-based trading platform Prometheum. He told Cointelegraph, quote, the outcome of the NYAG's case against Tether will be determined by the facts and circumstances. The Attorney General tends to only bring cases they believe they have a good chance of winning. I anticipate that the New York Attorney General believes the state has a very strong case against Tether. Implications. By assuming for the sake of argument that Bitfinex and Tether had defrauded their customers by covering up an $850 million loss, it would be interesting to consider the kind of impact their defeat in the legal battle would have on iFinex and on the wider cryptocurrency industry. For one, it's likely that iFinex would be hit with a hefty fine, and given that Bank of America had to pay a $42 million penalty in 2018 in connection with electronic trading fraud, it's possible that any fine it could potentially receive would be somewhere in the same region. Although it is known that other firms have paid billion-dollar fines to the state of New York in recent years. Quote, the penalties Tether would face would be heavy fines that it would probably not recover from, Erica said. This is a grave prediction, and while a $42 million fine probably wouldn't be financially ruinous for iFinex, the damage to its reputation could be far more reaching, as could be any legal orders it receives concerning its business practices in the U.S. Ergo, the New York Attorney General has shut down companies in the past. And if we take the absolute worst-case scenario, the closure of iFinex and the end of Tether, then the implications for crypto could be very ominous. Byrne has also added that a bad outcome for Tether may affect the crypto market negatively. Quote, as to the wider market, all indications are that Tether plays an increasingly important systemic role in the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency markets. Removing Tether from these markets for any reason would be likely to create a severe liquidity crunch among a number of overseas exchanges that rely on Tether for USD liquidity and could lead to substantial market disruption. Yes, meaning severe upswing in price of altcoins. Yeah. Indeed, USDT has been pivotal in crypto bull markets over the past couple of years, with this year's rally coming amid a doubling of the Tether supply. In fact, the supply of USDT more than doubled momentarily on July 13th when Tether printed 5 billion USDT tokens, only to burn them almost immediately after. According to the company's chief technology officer, Paolo Ardoino, This was simply the result of putting a decimal point in the wrong place during the transfer of 50 million Omni-based USD tokens, or USDT tokens, to the Trump blockchain. However, given that Tether hadn't been entirely honest regarding its one-to-one backing of USDT, for instance, the number of suspicious tweeters raised the entirely speculative possibility of foul play. Tether's past importance in the crypto aside, other experts believe that the cryptocurrency market would continue to exist and thrive without Tether. I happen to be among them. As Weiss Ratings, Juan Villaverde told Cointelegraph in a recent article, the post-April bull market has arguably seen Bitcoin become less dependent on the liquidity provided by USDT, saying, quote, "Let's not forget that the rally we've seen in Bitcoin accelerated around late April, precisely when the market was concerned about the sustainability of USDT as an asset class." Villaverde continued on to clarify that much the same thing had occurred in October, when Bitcoin jumped by over 10% intraday, despite question marks surrounding the transparency of the Tether stablecoin. His point was that the market had already spoken on the issue of Tether, telling us that even with doubts concerning the stablecoin's sustainability, the markets were liquid enough to soak up any capital flight. This may be an optimistic view of things, but Villaverde isn't the only commentator who believes that Tether's hypothetical collapse wouldn't have the massive knock-on effects for crypto. In much the same vein, Erica also believes that a hypothetical proof of Tether's fraudulence wouldn't irreparably affect the cryptocurrency industry's reputation, saying, quote, If Tether turns out to be a bad actor, it would be unfortunate, but it wouldn't stain the whole crypto market. Bad actors exist in every industry. The problem is the negative buzz and the false reaffirmation that the crypto industry is fishy. Generally, I think that the creation of case law and pragmatic application of the law to crypto companies is beneficial and constitutes a natural development. Kaplan agrees, explaining that a potential loss for Tether could be beneficial for crypto insofar as the industry is in dire need of standardization, according to Kaplan. Standardization is not correct. Anyway, continuing. The crypto industry needs to realize that in order for crypto to go mainstream, there needs to be integrity in the market. That integrity will either be forced upon the industry by regulators and legal actions, or will require standardization and best practices to eliminate activities like commingling customer and exchange funds. Taken together, the above observations point to two main points. Number one, there isn't enough public evidence right now to conclude either way on whether iFinex defrauded New York-based customers, and number two, even if such evidence emerges and New York OAG wins the case, the crypto industry will live on regardless. In other words, you shouldn't be too worried about Tether's fight with New York. You should be worried about Tether's fight with New York only if you happen to be Tether. Yeah, I happen to agree. I think that for the most part, the whole idea of a stablecoin, I think, is a bad idea. And sure, it may help some sort of exchange that can't get U.S. banking, but they should just be operating strictly in Bitcoin to altcoin exchanges then. And they should not be providing a surrogate for U.S. dollars. Because again, we're falling into Trustville there. We've already got big questions concerning their liquid capital reserves. If there were a run on Tether tomorrow, if everybody that had Tether right now sold them for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, what would happen? I don't know. I don't know that there would be an ability to pay all those out in Bitcoin or US dollars for the exchanges. If you were trying to withdraw US dollars, so you terminate your USDT to Bitcoin trades and then cash them out to US dollars after you move it over to Bitcoin. I don't know how you would do that. I'm sure there's some exchange out there that will actually honor the exchange rate of USDs with USDTs, but the question really isn't whether or not the exchanges have the liquidity. The question is whether or not Tether themselves has the liquidity to cover. And I still doubt that they do. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music. And we haven't played any Meshuggah, and I got some Meshuggah playing in the background. So let's go ahead and start this one over. I think, maybe, if it'll let me. Maybe. Possibly. Oh, no. It went a little bit too far. Damn it, Jim. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. Clockworks by Meshuggah. Here on Coin Metal. And that was 12-Foot Ninja with Silent Machine. And so, there's kind of a point to all of this. It seems like, anyway, there's a whole point to all of this mucking about regulation and who should be able to do what and who should be doing what and should Libra be doing this and whatever. Apparently, there's something else going on in the background, as there always seems to be. And so I got this article here on Politico.com. Big banks prepare to battle the Fed on faster payments. This is by Victoria Guida, authored the 19th of July, 2019 at 6:08 p.m. EDT. So no penis. Big banks are preparing to go to war against the Federal Reserve, which is poised to announce that it will develop a new instant payment system to compete with the lender's own nascent version. Banks say such a move would delay the goal of real-time payments that can reach everyone, a system that would revolutionize financial services by allowing people to receive money in their accounts within seconds after it's been sent to them. That process is already in place in countries like Mexico and South Africa. Under the traditional system that handles card payments and direct deposits, transactions are settled en masse 3 times a day and only during business hours, a costly reality for millions of Americans living paycheck to paycheck. While everyone shares the goal of speeding up payments, large banks have invested more than $1 billion in launching a system under the Clearinghouse Payments Co. They say the Fed doesn't need to build its own version, which would likely cut into both of their profits and customer base. The fight is heating up on Capitol Hill and is set to intensify after the Fed announces its decision. Quote, in 2015, the Federal Reserve called the private sector to build a real-time payment system. Greg Baer, president and CEO of Bank Policy Institute, which represents large banks. Quote, the clearinghouse and only the clearinghouse responded by building the most advanced payment system in the world. Now, he said, quote, the Federal Reserve may pull a bait and switch and build its own system, certainly delaying and perhaps completely undermining the goal of a ubiquitous system where any U.S. consumer or business can pay any other. Similar institutions, in contrast, have pushed hard for the Fed to be a provider of real-time payments. The Clearinghouse and the Fed are the two operators of the existing system that settles in batches, and community banks say the Fed has already proven it can provide payment services for all financial institutions, upward of 11,000 banks, and credit unions, while the clearinghouse hasn't. Quote, "It's not the best time and not the best service to conduct this experiment," said Kerry Whaley, the first Vice President of Payments and Technology Policy for the Independent Community Bankers of America. Whaley said that while small lenders are not opposed to the private sector system, quote, "community banks are a little wary when they're receiving services with competitors." Many large retailers and tech companies have also backed the idea of a Fed-built system to keep prices lower, given that legally the central bank needs only to recoup its costs, not earn money. Quote, "Allowing any one for-profit operator to achieve a monopoly over a payment system would almost certainly result in loss of efficiency and ultimately an inferior product that increases social costs," Walmart said in a comment letter to the central bank. Still, the Fed has faced criticism for years for not acting faster to facilitate real-time payments. The central bank launched a task force in 2015 to develop a plan to meet the goal of faster payments by 2020, but Fed Chairman Jerome Powell said that earlier this month that deadline would not be met. Big and small banks began making their competing cases to lawmakers after the Fed requested comment last October on whether it should build its own system. If the Fed decides to go ahead, its next step would likely include another request for public input on more detailed questions, but not a rule, because the central bank is not acting as a regulator. The issue is increasingly partisan, with free market Republicans balking at a government-run payment system and some Democrats arguing that the Fed is better positioned to ensure lower-income Americans receive the benefits. Quote, "I don't see the need for it," said Pat Toomey, representative of Pennsylvania, told Politico. "The private system has committed and would be obligated to be available to all regulated financial institutions." Quote, "I'm not in favor of the government going into the car business or any kind of other business where the private sector provides services," he added. Notably, the DOJ issued a business review letter in 2017 blessing the company's proposed plan, saying it might be, quote, "pro-competitive." But Senator Chris Van Hollen, Democrat of Maryland, said that real-time payment systems shouldn't be, quote, "in the hands of a private monopoly." "It's important, number one, that we have real-time payments, and I think it's a public trust," he said in an interview. "It's a mistake to allow that system to be under control of the big banks." Senator Elizabeth Warren, Democrat of Massachusetts, in an economic plan released by her campaign on July 18th, pledged to appoint Fed board members who would implement real-time payments. Quote, "Big banks want to force families to use their private systems," Warren said. The clearinghouse says all financial institutions will be able to join its system and receive the same benefits with the same fees, though it has kept its options open for changing its pricing structure if the Fed jumps in. The banks also highlight questions about whether two different systems could be interoperable, with a single transaction starting on the Fed system and ending on the clearinghouse's system and vice versa, given the speed required. But even before that, the Fed system will likely take a few years to build. Proponents of a Fed version say it could take a similar amount of time for the private sector system to have the capability to reach all institutions in the country. The clearinghouse disputes that. Quote, "I'm not worried about the competition from the Fed," said Steve Ledford, Senior Vice President of Products and Strategy at the payments company, suggesting that the central bank might even have trouble competing, coming in as late as they are. Indeed, he said he's worried that the Fed is causing a delay in real-time payments adoption. As for Congress, quote, the more people realize what's involved and that the clearinghouse is already out there doing this, the more support we get. Smaller institutions say it's not just uncertainty about the Fed's plans that's preventing them from signing on to the private system for now, but also the need for customer-driven reasons to make the necessary technological investment a priority. Quote, it's going to require specific use cases as institutions choose or don't choose to adopt real-time payments, said Kerry Hunt, General Counsel at the National Association of Federally Insured Credit Unions, which wants the Fed to operate its own system. ICBA's Whaley agreed. A community bank has a similar number of products and services they're trying to implement, so if there's not a compelling use case for that, they may let that slide and refresh their mobile banking platform, he said. The problems that I see with this is that both systems or all of these systems are going to be competing with Bitcoin. And I think that they're at a significant competitive disadvantage. I mean, when what they're proposing on providing is available readily in the public sphere and at a vastly lower cost and with a great deal less friction than anything that the banks or their clearinghouse or anybody of that ilk can provide, what do you think they're really going to go with? I think that the vast majority of people are going to go with publicly mined cryptocurrencies. You know, that shit, I'll probably take Doge before I'll take Federal Reserve coin or clearinghouse coin. You know, we've seen this before, these claims of all these countries that, oh, we're going to issue our own cryptocurrency. I mean, the other day I had like 7 tabs open for different countries that were planning their own cryptocurrency, like India coin and Japan coin and Iran coin. All of these coins, or all of these projects, neglect the fact that they are competing with publicly available cryptocurrencies. And as we read with regard to BitMEX, and also Bitfinex and a few other exchanges out there that I'm aware of, people aren't limited to their geography as far as which people that they want to transact with and which services they want to use and which exchanges they want to trade on. That's all completely open to them still. And so when we're talking about like the Fed launching a coin, what would be the advantage of using a Federal Reserve coin? I mean, other than it might be a matter of, you know, prevalence of other businesses that utilize it as a currency, but again, those businesses are run by individuals. And when they're looking at the payment systems that are available to them, their experience is going to be what determines their continued compliance or reliance on any one unit of account. If they can get what they need out of Dogecoin at a much lower cost and a much shorter transaction period, you know, it's just more efficient and better for them experientially than FedCoin or the clearinghouse or any other entity, be it federal or corporate. Their own experience is going to be what defines whether or not they're going to use it. And again, when we're talking about opening up pretty much everybody or introducing everybody to the idea of Bitcoin, you know, if we're talking about a purely digital currency. And so again, when you're comparing them, there's a lot of altcoins out there that on every metric are faster and more efficient than FedCoin can ever be. And with that in mind, you cannot look at it in the longer term and say, oh, I'm going to stick with FedCoin anyway because, it's going to cost me all this additional money and it's going to subject me to a whole bunch of regulatory bullshit and taxation bullshit that I don't really need to pay on top of additional fees. Yeah, I think that we've been transitioning into this for a long time now. And I don't think it's going to end with FedCoin even. I think they're going to release what they're going to release. It's going to work or it's not going to work. But it's going to be turning money into something like your social media platform. Where like you might have had an AOL Village account at one time, and you might have been going to chat rooms in AOL, but you don't necessarily do that anymore. You might be using MySpace now, and you might have even transferred from MySpace up to Facebook, and you might have even gone from there into Yen or Twitter or Discord or Telegram or IRC or any number of social media platforms. But you're not limited to any one of them. And this is something that, when I'm listening to Congress and Senate talk about quote-unquote monopolies, and they talk about Facebook in the context of a monopoly, I'm like, give me a fucking break. There's plenty of other choices other than Facebook. They're not the entire internet, no matter how much they want to be. And most importantly, it's your choice as to whether or not you're using them. You might have a tab for Facebook open, but you might be doing all kinds of other things on your browser that have absolutely nothing to do with Facebook, that Facebook does not benefit from at all, is not connected to Facebook in any way, shape, or form. And where's the monopoly now? If they're not occupying all of your utilization of the internet, where's the monopoly? And so again, we're talking about, even if FedCoin came out, they wouldn't have any kind of monopoly. It's not like the existence of FedCoin is going to delete Bitcoin or stop you from being able to use it. And I think that's the saddest part about this, is that these countries that are clamping down the most with regard to exchanges and cryptocurrencies, they're the ones that are losing out. People didn't stop trading with BitMEX just because U.S. regulators said you can't trade with BitMEX anymore. No, they got VPN accounts and they started trading on there. I think there was one tweet on there that said it was somebody in New York, and they were saying it took them 3 minutes to set up a BitMEX account after setting up a VPN account. That's the reality we're facing here. Somebody sets up a VPN account and they can trade with all the exchanges that they couldn't trade with before. And nobody is the wiser. Nobody cares. As long as the transactions go through, is the money good? That's all that really matters. Anyway, I got this article here, and it's to counteract some FUD that we'd been hearing about concerning India. And it seems like there's a double-pronged approach here, where there's like announcements of some sort of regulatory clampdown, and then there's initiation in the background of a cryptocurrency project, either by the state or the state's central bank. Anyway, continuing on, this is on newsbtc.com. Bitcoin not banned in India, Finance Minister tells Parliament. And this is by David Babayan. So yes, penis. This is authored, according to this, approximately 4 hours ago. Holding or trading cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin is not banned in India, Union Minister Anurag Singh Thakur told the upper house of Indian Parliament, my apologies on the mutilation of the pronunciation there, the Minister of State to Ministry of Finance said the issues of permitting the trade of in cryptocurrencies remains under examination of a government-appointed interministerial committee. He stressed that the Reserve Bank of India and the Ministry of Finance had issued a string of circulars and notices regarding the use of Bitcoin and other similar coins. Nevertheless, only a final report from the committee could shed more light on the final status of such nascent asset class. Quote, "Presently, there is no separate law for dealing with issues relating to cryptocurrencies," wrote Thakur in his response. Quote, "Hence, all concerned departments and law enforcement agencies such as RBI, Enforcement Directorate, and income tax authorities, etc., take action as per the relevant existing laws." Government of India, and blah, blah, blah. We might actually get into that document. Globally acceptable solution. The response followed Bloomberg Quint's coverage based on an alleged crypto ban draft, which mentioned that the government would sentence crypto traders with a 10-year jail sentence. This week, New Delhi-based lawyer Varun Sethi shared a leaked page from the same draft, which clarified that the Indian government was planning a crackdown on cryptocurrency traders. Nevertheless, Sethi doubted the authenticity of the leaked document. In a separate letter submitted to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Thakur said the interministerial committee needs to devise a technically feasible solution that caters to global regulators. Excerpts from his response. Quote, "It is difficult to state a specific timeline to come up with clear recommendations. The Interministerial Committee, IMC, under the chairmanship of Secretary Department of Economic Affairs, is examining all issues, including the pros and cons of the introduction of an official digital currency in India. No decision on licensing and authorizing any entity or company to operate such schemes or deal with bitcoins or any virtual currency has been made yet." Supreme Court hearing. The reply appears ahead of the next Supreme Court hearing of the so-called Crypto versus RBI on July 23rd. Following the central bank's blanket ban on Bitcoin trading, the Indian crypto companies filed a case against the federal organization for misusing its position. The legal fight, initiated in July 2018, suffered significant delays due to several technical matters. In the last hearing, which was held on April 2019, the Supreme Court decided to hear the final arguments following the summer holidays. The next hearing could have the Interministerial Committee submit its crypto draft before the court. If it's the same document cited by Bloomberg Quint, the holding and trading of cryptocurrencies will be banned in India. I guarantee it's not. Let's look and see if there's one comment, and it's bullshit. Yeah, so I think in the long run what's going to end up happening is that they're not going to ban any cryptocurrency trading in India. That eventually the fat F will give up because lack of compliance or lack of effort to even comply will basically prove it to be a boondoggle as far as some sort of regulatory effort, global regulatory effort with regard to cryptocurrencies. I mean, I think that if more people were to become aware of what exactly is what these people are trying to decide for them, I think the volume of non-compliance will go up. Because it's like, no, I've got all this power now to myself. I'm not going to give it back to you. Fuck you. Pretty sure that's the way it's going to go anyway. And it is with that I'd like to close out this episode. Thank you very much for listening. I certainly do appreciate the support. We will be back again on Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so until then, I'd like y'all to trade safe. Do your homework. And watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. As far as our last dance is concerned, I'm going to go ahead and throw it down with a little bit of Tool. Vicarious. Last Dance here on Coin Metal. Thank you again for listening, and y'all have an excellent weekend. Good night.